Gym defense in Pokemon Go. Who really cares, right? We got PvP and raids to worry about. That said, if you ever do take a gym, and you are going to put a Pokemon into that gym, it might be good to know which Pokemon are better at defending the gyms than others. And to sate that curiosity, I have updated the Gym Defender tier list for GamePress. And here it is. Just like the last time I updated the Gym Defense tier list, it is a specific Gym Defense tier list / guide. Basically, given certain circumstances or certain goals that you may have with defending a gym, different Pokemon are better for the job. For instance, we have the pre-raid / less than 2 hours gym defense. That's if you're trying to hold down the gym for a short period of time. You know, maybe you're in downtown Chicago, maybe you want those bonus balls for the raid. Then you got the 2 to 6 hours gym defense, and that is for trying to defend a gym in a moderate foot traffic area. Maybe you're just trying to get your daily Pokecoins in for the day. You know, you want to defend like a gym or two for about like 4 hours each or something. And then you've got the 6+ hours gym defense, which is trying to defend a gym for the long haul. Probably if you're trying to like get gold badges on more remote gyms, these Pokemon are pretty attractive. You and a couple friends could go out to these, remote locations, take the gyms, put these little CP Pokemon in it, and then maybe bury it once a day to, keep it topped up. And that's what you'd want to use those Pokemon for. Now, before we get into each individual strategy, I gotta tell you guys about the Master Tier, the 2 Pokemon that you basically want to include in every single gym, and that is Blissey and Mandibuzz. Now, when you compare Blissey and Mandibuzz at the same level, Blissey is going to be better than Mandibuzz. However, if you compare them at the specific CP ranges used for the other 2 gym defenses, well then Mandibuzz ends up being a lot better than Blissey. At the end of the day, both Blissey and Mandibuzz are basically better than most of the other options for gym defense and should definitely be included in just about every single gym. Now, Blissey, of course, needs no introduction. It's the big pink monster that has been terrorizing gyms since 2017. The best moveset is still basically the same, Zen Headbutt with Psychic or Dazzling Gleam. If you do want to waste a little bit more time, you could go with Pound and Hyper Beam because your damage wouldn't be fueling their charge attacks. But it's kind of a moot point. I'd just side with the damage. Zen Headbutt, Psychic, KO some Machamps that aren't paying attention. Blissey. Then we got Mandibuzz. And Mandibuzz is kind of a new one here. Yeah, it's a dark flying type Pokemon, which means that the, fighting weakness of dark is canceled out by the flying type, which is pretty nice. And yeah, just super bulky, omega thick Pokemon right here. Really annoying to deal with. Mandibuzz's best moveset is likely going to be Air Slash with the Dark Pulse, Air Slash to keep some pressure on the fighting type Pokemon, and Dark Pulse to potentially take out Mewtwo's and Metagrosses that aren't paying attention while fighting the Mandibuzz. That's very good, Ryan Swag, but I use Pokebattler.com. They have their own gym defense rankings. And you can see here that Blissey, Chansey, Snorlax, and even Umbreon is better than Mandibuzz, according to Pokebattler.com. So, how can you tell me that Chansey and Snorlax and Umbreon aren't also Master Tier when Mandibuzz is Master Tier? I can see how you might be a little bit confused here, right? I'm also using Pokebattler simulations. So how did I come to a different conclusion than this ranking page here? Well, the main offender here is that it's using the worst 6 counters for each Pokemon. So Pokemon that have more Mega types that are effective against them or Shadow type Pokemon that are effective against them are going to be hurt in the ranking. On top of that, it's not really using the most common Pokemon that will very likely be fighting them in the gym, such as, Mewtwo, Machamp, Lucario, Raikou, Metagross. People could use other Pokemon to fight gyms, but would it be optimal for the whole gym versus it being optimal for that one specific Pokemon? So, I feel like you need a little bit more of a comprehensive approach. So the model I used for my Defender tier lists used, the more common attackers while also keeping in mind what their more common / optimized attackers are, like the marriage between that. And then also giving some weights based on if you're causing a switch or not. So using that more comprehensive approach, I developed like 3 different formulas, and then I kind of scratched my chin and scrutinized the results of each of those formulas, basically different weights based off of if the defender is KOing and if the defender is causing a switch. And then I created a draft for the defender tier list. And then I sent that draft over to my GamePress friends, and they scratched their chins and scrutinized it, asked me questions. And then from that, we developed the defender tier list that is before you today. Fully validated, comprehensive approach. Not this 6 most optimal thing attacking you. Because who's really coming at a Mandibuzz here with a Shadow Smackdown Tyranitar? It just seems a lot less likely than coming at it with like an Electivire or a Raikou. And these are 13 and 17. Definitely not the top 6 worst matchups for the Mandibuzz. Not to say that Pokebattler is bad or that's a bad way to approach gym defense. It's just a different way of approaching it. And I like my approach better. So hope you do too. Now with that out of the way, let's get into each specific type of gym defense, starting with the pre-raid / less than 2 hours gym defense. Nothing too complicated to say about this gym defense strategy. You're just using your biggest CP, most powerful Pokemon at max motivation to hold the gym down for a limited amount of time, ideally to hold the gym before a raid. As far as the best defenders go, the tier 1 defenders, after Blissey and Mandibuzz, of course, are Milotic, Alolan Muck, and Dragonite. Milotic is just a big, super thick, water-type Pokemon. It's got really powerful attacks, Waterfall, Dragon Tail, really heavy hitting. And then it's got that spam move, Surf. And it also has Blizzard to, have a big nuke attack with that Blizzard. You could combine both of them if you want to. If you're curious about the gym charge move AI when you got 2 charge attacks, like Pokemon Go doesn't think about what's attacking it. They're not like, oh, a Dragonite's attacking Milotic? Well, I'm going to save my energy for Blizzard. It's just going to flip a coin whenever a charge move is available and decide if it's going to do the charge move or if it's going to do the fast move. And if there's a third charge move involved, it's just going to flip another coin. So, the gym AI, it's not thinking about that. But you could surprise your opponents if you have 2 attacks like that. Maybe the first time they fight it with like a Mega Venusaur, it's just throwing Surf. So they're like, okay, it's got Surf. And then all of a sudden, the next time they attack it, it's got Blizzard. And it takes out their Mega Venusaur. So that is a potential mental game, a little perk you could play with gym defenders. Maybe not exactly worth your Stardust and Candy, but hey, that's up to you if you want to do that or not. Moving on, we got Alolan Muck here. Alolan Muck is a poison dark type Pokemon, so like Mandibuzz, it is a dark type Pokemon that isn't weak to fighting type attacks, which is pretty nice. And then with that dark typing, it can bring some extra harassment to psychic type Pokemon such as Mewtwo and Metagross. So just overall, good thick Pokemon, good coverage, very threatening to some of the most powerful and common attackers. And then finally, we got a Dragonite. And Dragonite's also kind of a Pokemon that needs no introduction. It's got the Dragon Tail for some heavy damage. It's got Dragon Claw for the spam attack. And if you do want to hit a little bit heavier or you want some variety, you can always use like Draco Meteor or Hurricane, Outrage, your pick. A big thing that Dragonite has going for it here is that it has a fighting type resistance, so a lot of the better gym defenders are kind of like neutral to fighting type hits. Some of them are even weak to fighting type hits. But Machamp is still one of the most common and best gym attackers, and you also got like Lucario, I guess, for some competition. So being able to resist fighting type attacks could be a bit important for gym defense. And as far as the fighting type resistors go, I'd have to say Dragonite kind of stands on top. Next up, we have the tier 2 Pokemon, and that includes Garchomp, Metagross, Gyarados, and Salamence. Now, some of these Pokemon are more easy or more likely to be XL'd than the tier 1 Pokemon are. If you're curious about their performance at level range, a level 50 tier 2 Pokemon is about on the same level as a level 40 tier 1 Pokemon. So, if you're curious about that, there's a answer for you. As far as their individual merits go, Garchomp is just a big bulky dragon type Pokemon. It's not weak to rock type attacks like Dragonite is, and it can bring some extra harassment to steel type attackers as well. So roughly as deadly as Dragonite, doesn't have the fighting type resistance, but has some unique resistances and offensive capabilities of its own. Then you got Metagross. Metagross is just a big bulky steel type Pokemon. Steel type resistances combo really well with dragon type resistances if you're trying to mix types in your gyms. So Metagross is really good for that. And then on top of that, despite being a Machamp neutral Pokemon, it's got heavy Psychic type attacks to threaten those fighting type attackers. Then we got Gyarados. Gyarados is basically the combination of Milotic and Dragonite into one single Pokemon entity. The water type resistances aren't exactly as good as the dragon type resistances are, but Gyarados is good enough where it is on the level of dragon flying Pokemon and pretty optimal for pre-raid gym defense. And then finally, we got Salamence. Salamence is a bit below Dragonite in terms of performance, but Salamence does bring some interesting tools of its own. For example, it's got Fire Fang and Hydro Pump, which are arguably better than Dragonite's attacks are for, like attack coverage on gym defense. So Salamence, some could consider it to be better than Dragonite for those reasons, and Tier 1 and Tier 2, the differences aren't that great between them. If you really wanted to use Salamence instead of Dragonite and be like optimal, that's perfectly fine. Now, I can hear the complaints, the typing of the keyboards already, that, Ryan Swag, these Dragons and Gyarados, these are bad gym defenders because they have doubled up weaknesses. The Dragons just get destroyed by Ice-type Pokemon, and Gyarados gets destroyed by Electric-type Pokemon. So how can I say that these are good defenders when they have such glaring weaknesses? And to that, I gotta say that these Pokemon make up for their glaring weaknesses by having very few weaknesses. And on top of that, they have a lot of resistances and are good against a wider variety of matchups compared to Pokemon that don't have these, Achilles heel type, Omega weaknesses. And to that end, yeah, you could swap in like a Raikou and beat Gyarados in like 12 seconds. Or you could just keep in your Psystrike Mewtwo and beat it in like 16 seconds. Yeah, you're going to save a little bit of time if you were to pick Raikou for your battle party and swap to Raikou every time you run into the Gyarados. But are you really going to do that? Is that really saving you time at the end of the day? So I think the benefits definitely outweigh the risks of having the doubled up weaknesses. Now, of course, if you were to make a gym and, have a Dragonite be followed up by a Garchomp be followed up by a Salamence, well, now that would be silly. You're not making up for their weaknesses. You're not mixing up the types. You're just emphasizing their weakness to a higher level. Now that is silly. You still want to mix up the types there, but having a doubled up weakness, I don't really think it's that much worse than having a single weakness, to be honest. And with that out of the way, we have the Tier 3 Pokemon. And Tier 3 Pokemon list could be a bit longer than what I have featured here. I just didn't want to overwhelm the graphic with too many Pokemon. There's already like 30 plus unique Pokemon on this graphic to begin with. There's only 6 gym defense slots. 2 of those are going to be Blissey and Mandibuzz anyways. And then you've got 7 Pokemon between Tier 1 and Tier 2. So reaching down into Tier 3, that's kind of like a choice, So I tried to emphasize Pokemon with unique resistances. Maybe a gym stack could use a particular resist thrown into the mix. And that's what these Pokemon are here for. Yeah. One Pokemon that kind of stands out from this group, though, a little bit of a mold breaker, would be the Ampharos. Ampharos is a decent defender in its own right, and electric typing is pretty good for gym defense. I mean, it only has weakness to ground type attacks, and it's got pretty good coverage across the board. Arguably better than normal type. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of bulky electric type Pokemon, but that aside, Ampharos. Cool thing about Ampharos is that it's got Volt Switch. Volt Switch is neutral to a lot of things that could be attacking it, and if the gym is getting railed on by multiple attackers at the same time, like a pre-raid gym scenario, Ampharos can bring a little bit of extra pain to them with that Volt Switch. So a little bit of a highlight there. Does this make Ampharos like the best pre-raid gym defender? No, absolutely not. It's still Tier 3, but just a little highlight for my boy Ampharos there. Next up, we have the 2 to 6 hour gym defense tier list. 1700 CP to 2200 CP. What's going on with these numbers here? Well, I covered these numbers in the past, the last time I updated the gym defense tier list, so I have a pretty good article and a video in the description that breaks down all the math for this in great detail for you if you want those details. If you just want the highlights, I'll take you through the basic of the situation here. First thing you have to understand is that there are tall gyms and there are short gyms. For a gym to be tall, the total CP of all the Pokemon in the gym have to be greater than 8000 CP. If the CP becomes lower than that, then it becomes a short gym. Pokemon, when you put them into the gym, they don't keep the same CP all the time. Their CP lowers over time. There is a CP decay rate. Well, the CP decay rate isn't constant. Pokemon with lower CP decay at a slower rate than Pokemon with higher CP. And the Pokemon that fall into the 1700 to 2200 CP range have their CP decay at such a rate that they're able to maintain the gym tallness for a longer amount of time than other CP ranges. Now, of course, really big CP Pokemon can also maintain gym tallness for a great period of time, but there's also motivation decay to think about. Now, motivation is the little heart that appears next to the Pokemon. If you battle a Pokemon 3 times, each time you battle it, that heart goes down until it's knocked out of the gym. Well, that also has a decay rate. And that decay rate is also influenced by the Pokemon's max CP. So, the Pokemon that fall into this range, they have their motivation decay at such a slow rate that over this period of time, it still takes about 3 to 2 battles to knock them out of the gym, where the really big CP Pokemon would only take 1 battle to knock out of the gym. And so the combination of the CP decay rate, trying to keep the gym tall, and the motivation decay rate, trying to make your Pokemon take multiple battles to take out of the gym, brings us to the optimal range of 1700 to 2200. If you're curious, 1952 is the most premium number of this range. Once again, if you want some more details on all of that, the whole breakdown behind it, link in the description to that. So after Blissey and Mandibuzz, the best Pokemon for this CP range would be Azumarill, Claydol, Hypno, and Alomomola. Now, using Azumarill at this CP range is a little bit neurotic because you have to use XL candy, like a level 50 Azumarill basically hits 1700 CP, just barely. Are you going to use your XL candy pumping up an Azumarill for this weird gym defense, or are you going to use that XL candy for pumping up a PvP 1500 CP Azumarill? You'll probably want to use it for your Great League PvP Azumarill. That said, Azumarill does have this great performance and makes the tier list with the 1700 CP, so I just had to include it. Somebody out there is probably maxing their Hundo Azumarill as I speak, so that one individual, they're going to be super optimized for this type of strategy. That said, if you did want to use a 1500 CP Azumarill, 2 3200 CP Pokemon or greater can make up for the gym tallness loss by using a 1500 CP Pokemon. In fact, a 4000 CP or greater Pokemon on its own can make up for a 15,000 CP Pokemon. So using big CP Pokemon isn't exactly unideal for this type of strategy. It's just not optimal for the motivation. But of course, a lot of the pre-raid Pokemon could be considered for the strategy. Just know that their motivation is going to go down a lot more quickly. But it can enable 1500 CP Azumarill. When it comes to Claydol, Claydol is just a big bulky Pokemon. Resists fighting type hits, has heavy psychic and ground type attacks, so really good all around defender. Hypno is basically the pure psychic version of Claydol, trades the ground subtyping for a wider variety of charge moves, so it can be kind of tricky and deadly to deal with on gym defense. And then Aloe Vera over here is basically the pocket-sized version of Milotic. It's just a big bulky water type Pokemon. It takes a lot to take it out. If you're not using an electric or a grass type, it's going to take you even longer. Moving on down to tier 2, we have Wormadam Plant Cloak, Wormadam Sandy Cloak, and Umbreon. Yeah, now the Wormadams are pretty interesting, especially the Sandy Cloak one. They're bug-type Pokemon, and then they have their unique subtyping. Sandy Cloak has a ground typing, so the bug-type resists fighting-type hits, but is weak to rock. So, Machamp, it's got the rock slide, right? Well, ground-type resists rock, so it's only neutrally effective. And the Wormadams, yeah, they all have psychic-type attacks, man, so Machamp is not having a good time against the Wormadams. Now, when it comes to the Plant Cloak, the Plant Cloak trades that ground-type resistance, so it does get hit super effective by the rock-type attacks, but you also get resistances to water-type, electric-type, and grass. Grass resists grass. Grass-type attacks. Not that ground doesn't resist electric, it's just that, Plant Cloak, water, and grass. There's a lot of gyms that I approach that, are kind of weaker. Maybe I notice that there isn't a whole lot of resistance to water type hits, and I'll just throw my Kyogre at it and just like tap mindlessly and take it out. So some grass type thrown in there can help work against that. Similar with electric type attacks, grass type attacks. You get the idea. These bugs also have bug type attacks too, so Mewtwo, better watch out. And if you're wondering why the Trash Cloak didn't make it on this, Trash Cloak has really low CP. You'd basically have to XL to get into this range, and the Trash Cloak, well, it ain't no Azumarill, I'm saying that much. And then finally here, we got Umbreon. And Umbreon is just a thick dark type Pokemon. If you're not using fighting type attacks, good luck, friend. And then we have tier 3 here, and just like with the other tier list, tier 3 could feature a ton of Pokemon. In fact, this one could feature well over 20 Pokemon in and of itself, so I had to kind of trim it down a little bit so it doesn't get like super out of hand here. There's a lot of parallel Pokemon where it's like, well, this one, it's a little bit better, or it's the same idea, but it costs less on Stardust, so it made the grade. At the end of the day, 6 gym slots. You got Blissey Mandibuzz, so 4 gym slots. I've got, 7 other options for you. I think you can make it work without the tier 3 Pokemon. And then I guess on top of that too, you can also use the really big CP Pokemon as well to make up for lower CP Pokemon. So it's like, man, reaching to the tier 3 for the 2 to 6 hours gym defense tier list, you're kind of reaching a little bit. I'm just saying. And then finally we have the 6+ hours gym defense, utilizing Pokemon less than 1500 CP. So basically where, the Chansey and the Wobbuffet roam free, those little tiny time waster guys. That's this tier list. The goal here is usually to like hold the gym longer in a more remote location, or if you're trying to like gold a specific gym with some friends with like little berry upkeep, just warding people off. These are probably the good Pokemon for it. Since you already understand CP decay rate and motivation decay rate because of the last style of gym defense, 1500 CP basically maintains a Pokemon's motivation for even longer. Basically like 16 to 36 hours, these Pokemon are still going to take like at least 2 battles to knock them out of the gym, which can be very annoying. And then you can utilize that factor to, kind of golden razz them maybe once or twice a day to try to like keep a gym topped off in a more remote location to help gold badge the gym. Like, you're walking on a state park trail, you see a gym, and you're like, oh man, I'd love to take that gym. And then you click on it, and you're like, it's got Chansey, Wobbuffet, Blissey, Mandibuzz, Azumarill. They're all like basically at full motivation. I'm out here for like a pleasant hike. Maybe I'm with my friends and family that don't play Pokemon Go, and they don't want to spend 10 minutes waiting for me to tap down this gym in this nowhere land when I've got plenty of gyms to play with at home. That's the kind of attitude, mentality that you want to engender in people, and that's what these Pokemon bring out for very little upkeep. Interesting thing to note about this style of gym defense with Blissey is that while Blissey and Mandibuzz, the master tier Pokemon, have been as good if not better than the tier 1 Pokemon for the other styles of gym defense, Blissey here at 1500 CP is only as good as the tier 2 options are. For that reason, I feel like if you really want to optimize Blissey for this style of gym defense, it might be better to include a bigger CP range Blissey. Yes, its motivation will decay a lot faster than a 1500 CP Pokemon's would, but it would still have like that Blissey presence. And if you are golden razzing the gym like once or twice a day, well then there will be that like 6-hour window of time where Blissey does have the big motivation and will ward off people a little bit more better than a 1500 CP Blissey would. So that's just my 2 cents on that with the Blissey there. I think I'd side with a bigger CP Blissey. Mandibuzz, on the other hand, is definitely as good as the tier 1 Pokemon are at this CP range. As for the other tier 1 Pokemon, we have Chansey, Wobbuffet, and Azumarill. Now, if you are curious about the whole XL candy situation with Chansey and Wobbuffet here, the performance of the level 50 iterations versus the level 40 iterations really isn't all that different. So if you want to save yourself like 250,000 Stardust and a bunch of XL candy, you could just leave them at level 40. That said, these Pokemon may have some interesting power in the Great League as well, so you may be XL candying them anyways. But then also in that same vein, do you really want to put your big, expensive Great League Pokemon in a remote gym indefinitely? I don't know, man. Yeah, for general gym defense, just keep them at 40, maybe even 30. Don't worry about it too much. And then you got Azumarill, of course, and Azumarill's 1500 CP anyways, so Azumarill's kicking. I remember the first time I did a specific gym defense tier list, like years ago, obviously, and I had Azumarill as one of the best options, and everybody was laughing about it in my local area. They're just like, Azumarill, what a stupid Pokemon. And then people started putting it in the gym, and then like a week later, they're like, great, Ryan, great for telling everybody about Azumarill. This thing's so annoying to take out. Yeah, Azumarill still really annoying to take out of a gym. So I love you, Azumarill. Then we got the tier 2 options. We got both the Wormadams again, doing the same thing they did before. And then we also got Jumpluff. And Jumpluff is kind of like a different flavor of the Wormadams. It's kind of doing roughly the same thing, just slightly different. And then you got Bastiodon. And Bastiodon's like basically the same idea as the 2 to 6 hours gym defense Umbreon. It's just a fighting weak Pokemon that just harasses everything else in a pretty big way. And then finally, we got the tier 3 Pokemon, and just like in the previous list, there could be well over 20 Pokemon in the tier 3 here, so I just tried to cull it and highlight some specific resistances that people may want to take advantage of. If you want to use the Pringle Can Man for this strategy, by all means, it wouldn't be bad. Most Pokemon here wouldn't be bad. Like, if it's good in the Great League, it's probably not that bad on gym defense, so... But do you really want to lock that Pokemon in a gym? I guess that's up to you. And that about wraps it up. The gym defense tier list has finally been updated. It's been like 3 years or something since I last updated it. And that's mostly because not a whole lot has changed. The mechanics are the same. A lot of the best gym defenders are still the best gym defenders. The only real big change that we've had is, Mandibuzz exists. And I guess the Wormadams. Those are pretty good too. Let me know what you think about the gym defense tier list update here. Are there any Omega Supremo gym defenders that the Swagman has overlooked? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, are you still big in the gym defense? Do you worry about holding things down pre-raid? Are you trying to gold badge a bunch of things? And when you are gold badging them, do you just throw whatever in there? Or do you try to be a little articulate about it? Let the Swagman know. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these patron supporters. If you want to support the Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. There is one gym defender that people are probably typing out right now, and that's a Togekiss. Like the bane of fighting type Pokemon incarnate. Double resistance to fighting type attacks. That Togekiss. And I gotta say, it's not the worst thing for pre-raid gym defense. It's not the worst gym defender by far, but I feel like we got better options that can also resist fighting type attacks. And to that end, I feel like it also kind of has like the inverse of like the Gyarados Dragonite problem, where Gyarados and Dragonite are super weak to like one specific type of Pokemon. Togekiss is only good at like one specific type of damage. And, Machamp's got Rock Slide. Lucario's got Shadow Ball. So it's like, I don't know. Not the worst gym defender, but it didn't make the grade for me.